Hi everyone and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of PSG Pain Purge with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So, after the last episode where we lost the first game in our Champions League group stage, we then went on to beat Ajax in the second game, so that's decent. And today we come against Midtjylland from Denmark in the third of our group games. Today we get to really take control of this group if we win it and go back roughly around the top of the table. If we don't win today, we might be in a little bit of trouble. Let's see how we get on. Here we go then with another episode of the Pain Purge. Welcome in if you're a newbie. Let me know in the comments below if you are. Just put hi or something in, or let me know something about yourself in the comments below. If you're new or not, subscribe to the channel. Keep up to date with the videos that I release. Click that notification bell. That helps you to connect with the channel a bit better. If you haven't clicked a like button on this episode, why would you? If it's only just started, but please do that at some point in this episode. It really helps me to grow the channel. So if you could do that, that would be great. But today, in this PSG Pain Purge, it's all about the Champions League, of course, this series. And if we go and have a look at our group, you can see that we're sitting second currently on 3 points after a couple of games because of that early loss to Salzburg, which was a bit disappointing in the last episode. Since then, we have had a bit of a turn of fortunes in terms of we beat Ajax in the second of our group games. And in the league itself, in the domestic competition, even though we're not actually playing that on these episodes, you can see that we're at top of the table. We've got a competition from Lyon at the moment who are a game behind us and only a couple of points behind us. But I think given a couple more weeks, we'll begin to open that gap again. Form has been reasonably good. So we can go in and check that very quickly, and you can see that the recent form has been decent. Since that loss against Salzburg, we had a 2-2 against Lorient. Other than that, it's been wins all the way. Team members are starting to get used to playing with each other a bit more, and overall it's looking a bit better than it did at the beginning of the season after we'd lost to Bordeaux as well in the domestic stuff. So overall, things are going very well, really. We can't complain too much. The very expensive summer signings that we've made are all beginning to make an impact. Although we've had a couple of injuries here and there that we'll talk about in a second. But today is all about getting those 3 points and continuing to march on in the Champions League if we can. And it's all about beating Midtjylland away from home. So let's talk about the injuries that we've had. We had quite a few, it must be said. Neymar is needing a rest because he's had to play quite a lot recently because of all the injuries to other players. Rafinha, I've never been able to get him fit the entire way through this series so far. We're partway through Season 2 and I've never got this guy fully fit and able to play, which has been very frustrating, to be honest. But there we go. He's still in the same way that it has been all the way through. But we have got some slightly bigger issues. And Babu is going to be out for the next 3 to 7 weeks. He's a rotating option on the right-hand side of defence with Alexander-Arnold. We've got Kazawa, who's got a bit of a fitness issue at the moment, coming back from an injury issue. He's our rotating option in the left fullback position. Pogba needs a rest. The problem with half of these players is that they played a lot over the summer. And so coming back into first team football in the early part of the season has been very difficult, and getting the balance about resting them occasionally has been quite hard. So both Neymar and Pogba come out of the starting lineup at least today. I don't want to use Neymar if I don't have to today, but if I have to for whatever reason, then we will. And then we just got a couple of issues with Curtis Jones, the rotating option on the left-hand side, and Alberto, who usually plays in the number 10 role. Both of them have got a fitness issue, having been injured recently as well. So what have we done about all of that? Well, quite a lot, to be honest. There's a few things that are happening. Our back section, our defence and our goalkeeper remain the same as they usually do. It's further up the pitch that we've had to make changes. Verratti comes in, Vasquez comes in, Sarabia comes in on the right, and Mbappe has had to move over to the left to accommodate all of the issues that we've got. So it's going to be a bit of a makeshift side. You can see that Alexander-Arnold has got a little bit of an issue in terms of his conditioning. So we've put Dagba on the bench. He's not the best fullback in the world, but he can do a job for us. Ignore the colouring of the numbers on the attributes for players in this series because it's all set for my Truro City side and their lower attribute settings. So it looks a bit skewed in terms of how much green is on some of these players in terms of their better attributes, but it's just such a faff to change it around every time you go into a different save. I wish that SI would figure that out really and put those kind of attribute options on individual saves only, but there you go, that's just one of those things. Anyway, so for today's game against Midtjylland, which we really have to win, even though it's a tricky away game, we really should be winning it. We've got Ederson in goal, Alexander-Arnold at right back, Mendy at left back, Marquinhos and Laporte in central defence, Rabiot, Verratti and Vasquez in central midfield, Sarabia on the right, Mbappe on the left and Icardi up top, and a bench of Kimpembe, Dagba, Pereira, Camavinga, Rafinha, Neymar and Eduard. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So after a stuttering start in the Champions League, this is our chance. Today I've gone with a pumped fist team talk of go out there and let them know why we are favourites to win this match. Midtjylland come in with a 4-2-3-1, so similar formation that we're playing. It'll be interesting to see their style of play and where those gaps open up for us, but hopefully we can dominate the ball in the vertical tiki-taka type of gameplay that we're implementing at the moment, and just see if we can suppress the game enough to get some early chances, put the nerves into Midtjylland a little bit and show a little bit of quality here and there when we get the chance to finish some of our opportunities. That's the idea. And there's an early highlight straight from the kickoff, which doesn't always happen. Midtjylland playing it pretty well, nicely round at the back. Get it into midfield, but there's a good challenge by Verratti. Mbappe takes over down the left-hand side. He's more likely to cut in on his right foot from that particular position, I would suggest. Mendy takes over. Verratti then on the edge of the box crosses it in, but the clearance is partly cleared. Rabiot picks it up for us again though. Alexander-Arnold down the right hand side this time into the box, doesn't quite meet his man that time, but he does on that occasion. And if Icardi didn't move too soon, which I don't think he did, right in the 6-yard box he gets quite an easy tap in after about 35 seconds of the game. Some good movement down the left. We switched it to the right eventually, exactly where Alexander-Arnold needed to put that ball into the 6-yard box, and a sweeping shot from Icardi. And is he offside? Oh, that's a close one, isn't it? It looks like he might have been a little bit, but they didn't give it. It was very marginal, but we do go 1-0 up very early in the game. 4 minutes 50 seconds on the clock, and we get the second highlight of the match, and it's Midtjylland going over the top, but a wayward ball goes straight to Ederson, who eventually gathers it, sends it long himself, which is unfortunate really. We shouldn't have been doing that. It should have been much more subtle than that, but he booted it and we lost the ball in the defensive area for Midtjylland. Excuse me. And they get a chance to come back to us, but we nick the ball from them. Icardi eventually on the top of the area turns and swivels and puts a decent enough shot in, but it goes slightly narrow with that far post, narrowly wide of that far post, and we remain at 1-1, although we are putting all the pressure on. The possession stats are interesting. We're not keeping the ball as much as I'd like, but the chances created are decent, and there was a sweeping free kick in by Sarabia, but it was a bit sort of high and floaty, and the goalkeeper picked it up with no major problems. Verratti there should have controlled that ball better and bring it down and play the ball properly. He heads it back into no man's land, and we're very lucky that he managed to get a second bite at that. Does well on that occasion. Mbappe takes over, runs pretty much the full length of the pitch into the opposition box, but it's very narrow by the time he gets to the goal, and he sweeps a shot into the side netting, but a really fantastic run. under not a lot of pressure, it must be said. They really didn't get to grips with his pace at all, which is an encouraging sign in this first half. You can see that the match stats continue to go in our favour in terms of chances created. Another one from a corner kick, and it's again partially cleared. Is Vasquez going to get... He gave up. What on earth was Vasquez doing there? He just gave up, and it gives a real counter-attack opportunity for Midtjylland, and we're a bit fortunate on that occasion. Not happy with that at all. Vasquez is going to have to do an awful lot better than that to keep in this team, and so far not impressed with him particularly at all. He's on the ball again. This is the area where he can do some damage. If he plays a better ball than that, he might be coming off at half-time if he's not careful. Those are two things that I've noted him do that were just not good enough. And that's where we miss the likes of Alberto, unfortunately, who's just a little bit jaded and not quite fit enough. We get through to half-time, 1-0 up. 50% possession in the end, so we did better our possession in the second half of that first 45 minutes. The shots at goal, we had more than they did, but not so many on target. That's unfortunate. An XG, expected goals rating of 0.84, so we've done well to get our goal from that. But I would just like a little bit more from them, if I'm totally honest. It's not overly convincing. So we're going to go in and we're going to... What we're going to do... We're going to leave the gesture, but we're going to say things are going well, but I know you're capable of more. And then we're going to go into the tactics and just check out what sort of rating Vasquez was getting. 6.5. It's not particularly good enough, is it, really? I think... For now, I'm going to leave him on, but I think in the second half, if he's not doing so great, we could do all sorts of things. We could put Neymar in there if we really needed to, move Sarabia into that central role, all sorts of stuff. But for now, I think we'll keep it just as it is, and we'll go into the shouts and we'll just demand more from them early in this second half. See if we can get off to as good a start in the second half as we did in the first half. The first highlight comes for us, Mbappe, and he doesn't make it count, but the shot is parried by the goalkeeper back out into the 6-yard box, and Sarabia finds himself on the end of that and taps it home for 2-0. Now, it took us like 35 seconds in the first half to score a goal. It's taken us 2.5 minutes in the second. That's not, it's not quite as good, but it will do. And we do go 2-0 up. And I think we can just about begin to breathe a little bit carefree, should I say. But remember what happened against Salzburg in that first match of the group stage. So, anything can still happen at this point unless we play particularly focused and well and put this game to bed. Icardi holds the ball up brilliantly there. Verratti takes over. And there's Mbappe, again running through the defence, again having a slightly wayward shot. But at least the chances are there. And eventually it goes out for a goal kick to Midtjylland, and they go long into our left fullback area. Mendy brings it down nicely, plays a couple of 1-2s with Laporte, and then it's out wide left to Mbappe again, cuts into it on the right foot, but then puts a sweeping ball over to Sarabia that doesn't quite make it, but we're lucky to win it again in midfield. And Alexander-Arnold takes over on the right-hand side, crosses it in. Verratti has a shot which is blocked by the defender. Again, we sweep it to Alexander-Arnold, and he has a go at goal, but it's a little bit wayward and over the top of the bar. Really good shot by Verratti in the middle of that. I'm not sure that the defender knew an awful lot about it, if I'm honest. It hit him rather than him blocking it, but there we go. Free kick comes in for Midtjylland, and we do win the header very nicely. Mbappe picks up the loose ball again, rather than running, eventually puts it through to Icardi, and he has a sweep at the ball, should I say, which doesn't work out because the defender blocks it and has a second go. And it goes inches wide of that post, doesn't it? And we could have and maybe should have taken a 3-0 win at that point. But we're reaching the sort of 68, 69 minute mark. We're going to go in and make a couple of changes here just to keep everybody fresh and on their toes. We've got some obvious issues. So we're going to take Rabiot out and we're going to put Camavinga in. He can play that deep line playmaker role. That's fine. We are going to take Vasquez out. We're going to put Rafinha in, and we're going to switch Rafinha and Sarabia around. I think that's the way I want to play them. And we've got one more change that we can make. We could make a defensive change, but there's no real need to. I think what I'm going to do is protect Icardi and bring Edouard on and just play him up top for the last sort of 20 minutes of the game, 25 minutes of the game, and just give him a run out in the Champions League. He's an exceptionally good backup striker. I'm sure most of you have used him at some point or other. If you haven't, he is really, really good. So, you know, he's a worthwhile replacement for Icardi when need be. The game has just gone a little bit quiet through the last sort of 10-15 minutes. And we're reaching the final whistle already. And it really did go quiet. Nothing else happened at all after those substitutions were made. And I guess that, in a way, is good that we saw the game out. And we performed pretty well, but overall I would have liked a little bit more of a drive towards that last 20 minutes just to continue to score a few more goals if we could have. But there we go, a comfortable 2-0 win in the end away from home, so that's always a good thing to get the points away from home. Puts us in a better position in the group. We'll have to check out what Salzburg and Ajax did against each other. That will be an interesting result to find out in a second. But for now, we're going to see what we can learn from looking at the analytical page of this particular match. So, firstly, of course, we created a bag load of chances in that second half, even though a lot of them weren't on the highlights. 22 shots at goal, 7 on target, so we could up that rating a little bit, unfortunately. Only 4 and 2 for Midtjylland, though, so we were dominant. They had a 0.32 expected goals rating. Ours was 2.41. And we did score our 2 goals from that, so that was pretty accurate for today. Bagload of corners that we didn't really do much with, really, today. 87% pass completion, so that's increasing. That's good. I like that in this particular style of play. And just over the 50% possession rate for us. I'd like it a little bit more if I could, but again, we were away from home, so we'll let that one slide just for today. Look at those 22 shots at goal in and around the penalty box. And you're telling me that we couldn't get a few more of those on target? Look at the X's. Those are the ones that were off target. 3 on the right-hand side, couple on the top of the penalty box, a load down this left-hand side from, looks like all sorts of different players. Verratti, Mendy, Mbappe, Icardi, all missed opportunities in and around that left-hand side of the penalty box. So we could do a little bit better with our conversion ratio today, but other than that, I think I was fairly happy with it. We dominated midfield relatively well. Alexander-Arnold was pretty much the man of the match with 7.7 average rating, so not particularly high game in terms of personal average ratings for players today, but he got an assist and that got him the man of the match. You can see in terms of our average positions, we hold a fairly good high line, reasonably high anyway, but there's no major gaps anywhere within this setup. We can get the ball through there quite comfortably, so that's a decent thing. Let's go and have a look in a little bit more detail at a couple of things. The shots at goal are always the place to start, and we'll look at our 2 goals. They obviously they came from Sarabia just down on this right-hand side of the 6-yard box, and then Icardi on the top of the 6-yard box. Fairly simple tap-ins, really. So that's a decent way to score goals if you can get the ball right the way through them. But these are the ones that are more interesting, aren't they, really, today? We had an absolute ton of shots. Now, the first one I noticed is, what was Rafinha doing on that shot? He was stood closer to the goal than the ball actually went. That's just ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, a couple of really long sweeping efforts. That's fine that we didn't quite get those on target necessarily, but a couple more that maybe should have been challenging the goalkeeper a little bit more. We can see that we made 5 saves in the end, so that's not too bad, although, again, 1 or 2 of these possibly should have been put away. And then we got 4 blocked as well by the defence. And so they were performing their duties as well as they could. So overall, I think it's a really good day in terms of shots created, chances created, but the conversion of them today was not quite as good as maybe it should have been. Let's look at the pass completion, just because it makes me giggle. Intercepted passes, these ones I'm not bothered about, obviously clearing the lines a little bit. These ones further up, maybe we should be doing better. And also, we should be reducing the distance that we're passing a little bit. Just because ultimately we should be playing a little bit more of a subtle game than is demonstrated in some of these numbers. in the way that we're set up, it should be happening. Anyway, unsuccessful passes again. We don't take in consideration the clearances from the goalkeeper or the throw-ins, really. One or two of them work every so often. It's this group here that maybe we should just be a little bit more careful in what we're doing. We create the chances today, though, so it's not that we didn't, but there's still one or two opportunities in there. For a team such as ours, you've really got to push for as close to perfection as you can. And today we didn't quite find that, both in the occasional wayward pass, but also, it must be said, in the conversion of our chances, which is where the real problem lay. A few out of play passes, again sweeping it from one side to the other to try and get wide men on the ball that didn't quite work out. And here are our passes that were key passes today, into the box, a lot of them, or the edge of the box for a shot, and we didn't quite make as many of them pay. And that is ultimately what we learned from today. I don't think we need to look at anything else, because it's as simple as that, really. Both our strikers, Icardi got a decent goal. Edouard came on and didn't really impact the game. Rafinha and Sarabia, sort of reserve players, really playing in those roles because Alberto and Neymar weren't available, and you could kind of tell that it was a little bit stuttery in the final third. But ultimately we got a 2-0 win away from home in the Champions League. Can't really complain about that, can we? So just before we figure out exactly what's happening next episode, you can see here that Salzburg have really taken control of this group. They beat us in the first game of the group, which was a bit surprising for us. They've also now beaten Ajax as well, and that's a fantastic result. It was a 3-0 win as well, so it wasn't an easy, a straightforward one. No, it was a straightforward one. That's what I was trying to say. But yeah, they've really taken control of this group. That kind of helps us out a little bit. I do think that we can beat Midtjylland again in the next game that we play. We've also got to play Ajax and then and Salzburg again. And I do think that potentially we could win all of those games if we play well enough. Obviously, we can. So I think having dumped on Ajax a bit, that could help us out. Quite easy to get out of this group now, really. I do think that the next game is important, and not the next game, should I say, that the Salzburg game is important. If we can win that, then I think we're done and dusted in this group, which is great. Midtjylland again at home is our next game. The one that we're going to come back for is the deciding one in the last of the group stages against Ajax. So we'll have played all three teams on one of the episodes each. So yeah, that's what we're going to come back for in the next episode. Between then and now, I've got those 2 games in the Champions League to see if we can secure a position for the knockout stages, which I'm relatively happy and comfortable about being able to do, I think, really. We've also got a bag load of games in the Ligue 1 in our defence of our title. I hope by the time that we come back for Ajax, we might have got a bit of a gap up the top, hopefully, and that will be easier to rest a few players in the second half of the season in around some of those knockout Champions League group games, the knockout games, just because that keeps the players fit then, really, as we're trying to go on all fronts as we can. So that's what's going to happen over the next couple of episodes. We're going to go through the Ajax match and then hopefully into the knockouts. But today's kind of done and dusted. It was a fairly straightforward 2-0 win. We did get the 3 points. It does put us in a decent position. So bring on the rest of the group, really. That's going to do it. Thank you for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and join my United City community. The more the merrier. There's loads of ways to join the United City community and participate through Twitter or Discord, or you can support my channel through Patreon or merchandise store. That's all linked in the description below. Go and check that out. Click that like button. It's really important. If you haven't clicked it, click it now. Help me out. It continues to grow the channel and helps me know that you're invested and connected to the content as well. Until next time, though, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.